Today we're looking at how to solve equations given a coordinate pair. So if we have a coordinate pair, in each one we're going to have an x value and a y value. We'll be given 1. So in this case you see we do not know what the y is, we know what the x is. The x is 4. So we're going to plug that x into this equation. I have y equals, I need to use that negative sign, put in my x value that I know. So I have negative 4 plus 3, that equals negative 1. My answer is y equals negative 1. Answers, what is the value of y? In number 2, you see we're given the y value and we must find the x. So I'm going to replace my y with the 10. So I have 10 equals 3x minus 2. So we add 2 in. I end up with 3x equals 12. Divide by the coefficient. I end up with x equals 4. That answers my question. What is the value of x? So what do we have here? We have a y value is negative 4. I substitute that for the y value here. Negative 4 equals negative 1/4 x plus 3. I eliminate the constant. I have 1/4 x equals negative 7. Now I can divide by 1/4 or I can multiply by 4. Yeah, it's a 4. It doesn't look real pretty. I end up with 28. I should make that negative, seeing as how I just noticed I have that negative right there. So negative 4 times negative 7 is a positive 28. That's what x equals. Number 4. Again, I'm given a y value of negative 4. My equation looks a little different. We're still going to write it exactly as it's written, except we're going to put in the negative 4 like that. Just for clarity's sake, let me make sure that this looks exactly like a negative 4. So here I do negative 5 times negative 4 gives me a positive 20. So I'm going to subtract my 20. End up with 4x equals negative 12. Let me just continue up here. Divide by my coefficient. And I end up with x equals negative 3. Let me make that those 4's come out looking a lot like 9's. Alright, number 5. We're given the x is 6. So I'm going to put that in place of this x. Notice I did not circle that negative sign because that negative needs to stay there. So I have negative, just so we can tell, that's 6, minus 2y equals 7. So I would add 6 to both sides. Is that right? 6, negative 6, yes. Then up with negative 2y equals 13. Doesn't look like this comes out very evenly. So we divide by the coefficient, negative 2, and y equals negative 13 over 2. Now here's an interesting one. It says, what is the range? Well, that means what are the y values? So let's go ahead and make a table here. X, y. When the domain is -4, -2, -9. That means I need to put in -4, 2, and 9. That means I'm going to have 3 equations. So what is the function of -4 such that it's 3 times -4 minus 5? So all I did is I plugged in the -4 in place of the x here and here. So 3 times -4 is -12 minus 5, which equals -17. So I'd write -17 right there. Then what is the function? And then I'm going to take this of 2. And that equals 3 times 2 minus 5, which equals 6 minus 5, which equals 1. So when x is 2, y is 1. And then I say, what is the function of 9? Well, it's 3 times 9 minus 5. So that's the same as 27 minus 5, which is 22. So when x is 9, y is 22. Now over here I'm going to write my answer, the range, and in order from least to greatest. Okay. Let's look at 7. Again, it says, what is the range? So I'm going to put my x values, my y values, and the domain is -4, -3, -1. So I'm finding y values. So the function, -4, and I'm going to write this. Instead of x, I'm writing -4 squared minus 8, which is 16 minus 8, which is 8. So I'll put 8. And then the function of -3 is -3 squared minus 8, which is 9 minus 8, which is 1. And then I'm going to put in the function of -1. That's -1 squared minus 8, which is 1 minus 8, which is -7. So notice, it asks what is the range, so my answer is range. And I'm going to put these in order from least to greatest. So it is -7, 1, 8. Notice number 8, it says, what is the domain? So now we're looking for x values. We're given y values. This is when the range is -3, 9, and 15. So I replace this whole thing here with these values. So when I have -3 equals 2x plus 1, that's the same as saying -1 minus 1, 2x divided by the coefficient. In this case, x equals -2. So -2. And then I will do this. I'll replace this whole thing with 9 equals 2x plus 1. Subtract the 1. 8. 2x divided by the coefficient. I get x equals 4. So I'll put my 4 here in the x place. Now I'm going to do this one with a 15. 15 equals 2x plus 1. Again, subtract the 1, divide by the coefficient, and I get x equals 7. So now to write my answer, I will say the domain, and put it in order from least to greatest, -2, 4, 7. Again, we're looking for the domain. So I'll fill out my table, x and y. They give me a range of 5, 21, 33. That means I completely fill out that with these numbers. 5 equals 4x plus 9. Subtract the 9. I get -4 equals 4x. Divide by the coefficient. X equals -1. So now I'm going to put in the 21. 21 equals 4x plus 9. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm doing math in my head before I'm doing it on paper. Plus 9. Subtract the 9. I have 12 equals 4x. Divide by the coefficient. X equals 3. And now I use my last one. Plug in my 33 for my y value. 4x plus 9. Subtract the 9. And 24 equals 4x. Divide by my coefficient, which is 4 again. Find out x equals 6. So now I write my domain to show my answer. And I write it from least to greatest, -1, 3, 6.